I just want to start today's video with something that I've actually never done before, which is shamelessly plug my social media. But I made a new Instagram account specifically for books, literature and writing. I think I just felt like my own Instagram is it's full of everything. Most of my followers are like friends, family, people I went to school with that I know in my daily life, and I was finding myself wanting to post so much book related content that I thought everyone's gonna get so sick of me and my book posts. Why not create an account or a profile specifically for like books and book related posts, and then that way I can post whatever I want without feeling like my own personal Instagram is just cluttered with random photos of books as well as selfies and I don't know, photography. So it is called Laura_loves books. And so far I haven't actually posted anything, but I will. So if you want to check that out, that's okay, and if you don't, that's okay too. Today I'm going to be talking about Every Colour of You by Amelia Mandeville. This is a British book from a British author who is actually 21 years old. I was so surprised when I read a little bit about the author, seeing that she's 21 and this is her debut novel. Oh, she has a YouTube channel with her sister. This book is from about 2019, I think. First published in Great Britain in 2018. I'll read the back to you. The synopsis, as I've now learned it is called, and you can make up your mind about what you think. Zoe lives every day to the full. Tristan can only see reasons to stop living. Zoe and Tristan couldn't be more different, which is precisely why, when they meet in a hospital waiting room, Zoe becomes determined to get to know Tristan better. But Tristan is struggling with a sadness no one seems to understand, least of all himself. Giving up isn't in Zoe's nature, and as the two spend more time together, it seems like Tristan might be coming around to seeing the world the way she does. Until one day everything changes, and in trying to put Tristan back together, Zoe finds herself falling apart. A story to break your heart and put it back together again. Every Colour of You is the unforgettable debut novel from Amelia Mandeville. I'm not really a young adult fan these days, especially books like this that is clearly, I mean, it's hard to know if it's going to be a romance or not just from reading the back, you know, they sound like they could just be friends. But from reading the back, I was a little bit skeptical going in because I kind of thought, is this the kind of book that I will enjoy? I grew out a kind of young adult. I mean, I still like young adult books depending on what they're about, but kind of like ones like these that you feel like could be like a romance. But I decided I was going to give it a chance, and I read it not that long ago, and it didn't take me too long to read it. But I definitely have a few opinions on the book, so let's get into that. The premise itself, the actual plot of the book, I feel like it was lacking a little bit. I mean, everything was centered around the characters, so that was it was a character driven plot. Zoe and Tristan meet at a hospital, but they don't speak or anything. She just happens to see him there, and then she goes outside and he's at a bus stop kind of thing. They meet in passing. They don't actually speak to each other, and then it turns out that he works at the same supermarket that she works at, because Tristan's been away and he's been sectioned in a hospital because of his mental illness, and he's now back. He's been away for about 6 months. He's back now, and so he's back to work at the supermarket, and Zoe didn't work at the supermarket when he used to, so she didn't actually know him. So they meet properly, I would say, at work, and they talk to each other then. The book was told from both Zoe and Tristan's perspectives, which was fine. I do quite like a multiple narrative book. Game of Thrones got me into that, and I really like it. I do really like that. I did like the double person narrative because you were getting to see how Tristan felt and how Zoe felt. That was nice. So Zoe is pretty much, she's full of life. She is, I don't know how to even describe this, colourful, hyperactive. I read a book review where someone likened her to, it was a bit of a bad review though, it was kind of likening her to being like she was like acted like a child, and I can agree now thinking back, it did come across that way. I know personally if I met someone like Zoe in real life, it would probably do my head in a little bit. And Tristan is like the exact opposite. Since his father passed away, he's been suffering from depression. He's wanted to take his own life. He's still suffering, he's angry all the time, which is sad to see. Depression is such a horrible thing to go through. He lives with his brother Luke. The two of them don't really get along, they argue a lot. And so Zoe basically, she knows that Tristan is suicidal and depressed. She decides to take it upon herself to brighten his world and make him see that the world is worth living, which is a lovely idea. I feel like every depressed person could do with that person in their life, that ray of sunshine to help keep them going. I suppose I did like that, the way that Zoe treated Tristan. But I have to admit, there were times with Zoe that she did kind of come across as just a little bit annoying, and the randomness about her, it's like, oh my god, she was the epitome of a random quirky character, and I just thought to myself, oh my god. And Tristan just puts up with this. He basically, like, to begin with, it doesn't feel like he really wants her in his life, but she's just there all the time, and he just lets her be there. I do feel that the friendship between them, it wasn't bad per se. I mean, you have to take into consideration that Tristan is sad, a sad boy. He's a sad boy. Of course he's gonna maybe react differently and not seem as enthusiastic about the friendship, and he repeatedly says that he doesn't want friends, he doesn't want anyone being close to him, but Zoe basically just inserts herself into his life and he's stuck with her forever. I will admit, for a while there, while I was reading the book, and all I could think of was, okay, everything's fine. Tristan, yeah, he's still sad. Him and Zoe, they're hanging out. The pace of the book actually did move quite quick. Time jumped quite quickly at times. One minute they weren't really friends, but then they're sort of friends, and now it's like he almost accepts Zoe as a friend. Everything kind of did move quite quick, and there was a lot of them hanging out that we didn't see. So in a way it was hard to love their friendship in a way, because I didn't feel like I really got to see them grow. But at the same time, I actually really liked it. I think overall I gave this book a 3 out of 5. I wanted to give it a 4. I really wanted to give it a 4, but there were a few things that really brought this review down for me. A couple of things being that when you put something on the back of a book, okay, I am waiting for it to happen. So when you tell me that one day everything changes, and in trying to put Tristan back together, Zoe finds herself falling apart, my mind interpreted that as, is something gonna happen to Zoe? Like, is her happy personality gonna wear onto Tristan, but in return Tristan's negativity is gonna affect her and she's gonna end up suffering from depression? Then I had this kind of theory. I wondered if Zoe already suffered from depression, because it's hinted at throughout the book that there is something with Zoe. She talks about friends that she doesn't see anymore. She talks about sports, that she was so passionate about sports, but Tristan says to her, but why don't you do it anymore? Why don't you run? Why don't you do this? And so I kind of wondered if maybe Zoe had a past with mental health and maybe she's on pills or something. There was a prescription mentioned at one point. Her father had picked up her prescription and, you know, we never actually saw what it was. So I kind of wondered if maybe Zoe suffered herself, but she came across in a very happy way to overcome it. I'm not sure. And then maybe she had like her bad days in secret. I wasn't sure, so I wondered if that's what it was going to be, but it wasn't. Spoiler. So I do feel like if something's on the back of a book and it doesn't happen relatively quickly, so within like the first half of the book, if what you've said in the back hasn't happened yet, I tend to get a little bit annoyed. Sometimes that is the inevitable if something that's kind of hinted at, but so I was kind of waiting for that. I was waiting to see, well, what's gonna happen? What's happening? What's gonna happen to Zoe that suddenly finds herself falling apart? Falling apart, I felt it was like figuratively, like she's literally gonna lose her mind. She's gonna start suffering from depression or something. And then it really wasn't until right near the end of the book, I think I had less than 100 pages to go, that something finally happened, and I was like, oh, there it is. I actually did really enjoy this book to an extent. For a young adult novel that I'm not normally a big fan of reading, I thought it was okay. And I guess the friendship between Tristan and Zoe was needed. Tristan needed that friendship to help him, and Zoe's personality was just what he needed in his life, that ray of sunshine. However, that doesn't mean that I absolutely love Zoe as a character. Characters like Zoe are never really my favourite. When it comes to just characters in general, the over the top, colourful, quirky ray of sunshine character that dresses different from everybody else, and they're never normally my favourite. I'm not sure why. I like them, I do like them, but they're never my favourite characters in novels. I suppose she was alright though, she was alright. And Tristan as a character, I sort of feel like his only trait really was that he had depression. Like, there was nothing really more to his character. But then at the same time, I can sort of excuse that because he was suffering badly from depression and suicidal thoughts. So when you're feeling that low, of course he's not gonna suddenly be happy. He's gonna be low. So I can sort of excuse that. I normally hate whenever mental illness is used merely as like a character trait for somebody, and they have no real personality apart from that they suffer from depression. But I can sort of excuse it because it was told from his perspective as well. I actually had a few issues with the printing of this book. There were a lot of mistakes. I remember seeing it the first time, and whenever I stumble upon a mistake in a book, I just kind of overlook it because I think it's so easy. The amount of times I've overlooked something and you think to yourself, how did I miss that when I was reading? But it's so easy for someone to overlook it. I do always think to myself though, like, if you have an editor, Ken, I know they're only human, but that is their job to pick up on these things. But a mistake can be made and a word can be easily missed. But there were a lot in this book. I wish now I'd made a note of every one, but obviously when it happened the first time I didn't pay attention. When it happened again I never really paid attention, and by the time I got to the end I was picking out more, and I was like, now I want to like read through the whole thing again and pick up on these mistakes, because by the end I had less than 100 pages to go, maybe even less than that, maybe I had about 50, and I was saying to my mum, I was like, I've just seen another mistake. And then a few pages later, or 10 pages later, like, I've just found another one. The main mistakes were words missed from a sentence. I remember there was one point where it was a Zoe chapter and she was talking about Luke, who's Tristan's brother. The sentence was something along the lines of, like, she looked at him, but the at was missing. So the line read as, she looked him. She looked him. The at was missing, so you it read wrong. It was a lot of times. That was the main one was always words missing from a sentence. It would always be words like the or at. Then there was one time where there was a random a, the sentence read as something and it said an, so that must have just been like maybe like a misclick or just a typo. So that sentence read wrong. It was something like, it could be something similar as like, she picked up an apple. It was something like along the lines of that. So I was like, oh, I think that was the first mistake I clocked, was when there was a random in a sentence and it shouldn't have been there, and then words were missing. And then there was one time where there was a full stop. this one was so little, although it really didn't matter, but the sentence ended with a full stop, but the next word started with a lowercase. I think it was but. So I thought either you've meant to put a comma because it then started as but but there was a full stop and then a lowercase b in but, and then the sentence carried on, and I was like, so that's either the but meant to be a capital or it was meant to be a comma instead of a full stop. Most likely it was going to be a comma. So there was that as well, and so that really bugged me, because that comes across as very unpolished, because it's like, well, who approved of this book? Who read through this book and left so many? I mean, I can definitely think of 5 at least, because there was the extra word in a sentence that didn't, or the extra letter, I'll say. The extra word in a sentence that didn't need to be there. The comma, dot, full stop, but thing. And then there was about 3 other times where there was words in a sentence that were missing, so the sentence didn't make sense. So it was like, it just came across as very unpolished, because like, who approved of this book? Who edited this book? Who read through this and said, yep, this is perfect, get it off to print? Because if it was self-published, which I don't think it is, I really don't think it is, but if it's self-published, then I suppose fair enough. But even then, run it through Grammarly. It just kind of irritated me a little bit. Every time I stumbled upon it, I would hesitate and reread the sentence, and in my mind be thinking, well, you're missing this word from that sentence. So it kind of distracted me from the story, because I focused in on this mistake. But hey ho, we're all human, we make mistakes. However, if there's a lot in one book, fix it. I was going through reviews and nobody else seemed to clock on it. So I was like, is it just me? It's just my book? Why? Why is it just me? Maybe I'm wrong. Imagine. Also, as well, one little other issue I had with this book. Now, for a 21-year-old, I will say it was well written to an extent. The dialogue, the descriptions, everything in general was pretty good. However, there were times where it came across as a little bit immature, and it was the way sometimes the characters spoke, specifically Zoe, and it was the way that she kind of spoke to the reader, and I was like, it came across as quite, I'll say immature, not immature, but it kind of reminded you of something that, like, I always reference Wattpad in these reviews, but that's exactly how I view these things. But when I read a book that's quite got that kind of like level of immaturity to it, it kind of comes across like a Wattpad story, and there probably are amazing stories. But for example, I remember seeing it in the very first chapter. I'm still scanning the waiting room, trying to find the thing that makes it extra special, when boom, pow, whack, I find it. A coffee machine. Yes people, there's a coffee machine in this waiting room, a fancy barista style one no less. It's when she keeps kind of like almost as if she's talking directly to us. So when she said, yes people, there's a coffee machine. And here's another example when she goes, well my friends, only time will tell. There was another time I remember where she said something and it really grinded my gears. I'm gonna have to scan this to find. Okay, yeah, here it is. This was in the first chapter specifically, but I can't remember if it kept flagging up throughout the rest of the book because I very nearly wanted to stop reading this book after the first couple of chapters. So this is Zoe. She's in the hospital. She's in the hospital waiting room. Tristan's just gonna enter the room and there's a woman at the reception desk. So this is Zoe talking about the woman that's on reception as the receptionist woman's kind of acknowledging Tristan. I shuffle onto the seat next to me to get back my view of the reception. She is typing away on her computer, but when she sees the guy standing in front of her, she lifts her head up and smiles. Yes, I said that right people. She smiles at this random boy, while I feel slightly offended now. I just hate that that reminds you of something you'd write in a Wattpad story. If you're saying something like, I met this boy today and he smiled at me. Yep, you heard me right. He smiled at me. I don't know. There was another line. I'm gonna see if I can try and find it because it really made me laugh. Oh, here it is. This is all in, because we had Tristan's first chapter. It was only like a couple of pages long, and then we got Zoe's first chapter. This is where she's talking about Tristan. At this point she doesn't know who he is. She calls him Mr. Eyeliner. Mr. Eyeliner slowly and carefully moves his eyes from the woman waiting at the desk towards her bag. Oh, now things are getting interesting. Get the popcorn out. It's lines like that. I didn't like it. I don't know how to describe my thoughts on it, but it just was like, what? I don't know. It just, in a book, it was a bit weird, like the way she was kind of talking to us, like as if, I don't know. Does anyone else kind of like agree with me? Just the way it kind of came across, I was kind of like, oh, get the popcorn out. And then she starts making faces at him. I stick my tongue out at him. He registers it. His mouth tightens and his eyebrows lower. And his eyebrows lowers? And his eyebrows lower. Should not just be lower? Is this another mistake? Have I just clocked a mistake that I didn't notice the first time? Let me read this to you. He shuffles in his chair in response, not letting his eyes stray from mine. I stick my tongue out at him. He registers it. His mouth tightens and his eyebrows lowers. And his eyebrows lowers. Would you not say his eyebrow lowers? His eyebrows lower. His eyebrows lowers. His eyebrows lower. His eyebrow lowers. His eyebrow lower. Right. Just this English lesson. Teaching myself. His eyebrow lowers. That sounds right to me. It's like one eyebrow. But his eyebrows lowers. Why doesn't that sound right to me? His eyebrows lower. But yet, if it was one eyebrow, you'd say lowers. I need an English teacher. but he doesn't seem to know how to react. So I cross my eyes, but again he just exhales and sits up straight in his chair. Oh, wait till you see my monkey impression, friend. Things are going to get fun here. This is the point when I realised, oh my god. Oh no, this book. But yeah, that kind of, the acknowledging the reader saying stuff like, yes people, was a bit kind of, oh no. That actually, thankfully, did not roll too much on into the book. I feel like I saw a lot of it in the first chapter and I was like, yikes. But then it stopped, or it got better. Probably because Zoe and Tristan were talking to each other, therefore Zoe didn't have to talk to the reader, but it got better at least. Oh god, because I don't think I could have kept up with that. Oh, it's raining now as well. It's a horrible after. Why is it always rain when I do these? Why is it always windy? Storm Ellen. But yeah, I also actually want to quickly, I kind of want to talk about the ending. I want to talk about the ending. So this is only going to be for people who are interested in, who aren't interested in reading this book and maybe want to know how it ended, or for people who have already read the book, or for people who just don't care about spoilers. But if you care about spoilers, please, please, please do not listen to the rest of this video. It's purely going to be just me talking about the end of the book. So I will thank you. So thank you very much for watching this little review, and I will see you in the next video. But if you're interested in knowing how the book ended, I'm going to talk about it because I have a few thoughts. Basically, Zoe and Tristan's friendship does grow, but Tristan's a bit of a blank wall when it comes to personality, which we'll put down to his depression, the poor boy, and Zoe again is still chirpy, cheerful and hyperactive. They do eventually have an argument at one point between Tristan's will to live and the fact that he feels like Zoe preaches too much about living life to the fullest when she doesn't even really live life to the fullest. And the pair of them spontaneously decide to keep doing these random events. So for example, they'll go to Laser Quest, they'll go go-karting, they went trampolining, they go running and stuff, and start exercising and sports and everything, because that's what Zoe loved to do, and she was at uni studying to be a sports something. Physio? I'm really not quite sure. She was doing something to do with sports and athletics. So while they're trampolining this one day, Zoe, our girl Zoe, she has a nosebleed, and Tristan keeps commenting how pale she is throughout the day and how cold she is. And then she ends up collapsing, and the paramedics are phoned, and she goes into cardiac arrest, and they're having to resuscitate her, you know. Standing clear, shocking. I could totally be a paramedic. And so she's in hospital, and Tristan comes to visit her, and she's talking about how she's scared. We as the reader don't really get to find out what's happening to her. She keeps talking about how she doesn't want to die. The doctor's just saying, you know, you're lucky, we almost lost you, but you're back. Everything is great, everything is groovy. So that is great. Zoe is fine. Now, I will admit, I had a bad feeling. I thought at one point when Zoe first collapsed, I was like, is she gonna die? Is this about to be the Fault in Our Stars moment here, where one of our main characters is literally gonna die, breaking the heart of the other character? What? Then that's fine, and it ends with Tristan is meant to visit her in the hospital, and then he has to leave. Nurse tells him to go so that she can rest, and the chapter ends with Zoe, it's from Zoe's perspective, saying about how she's going to be honest with Tristan. She decides she's going to tell him everything the next time she sees him, and she's going to tell him that she loves him, because so far, I mean, I kind of picked up that Zoe was in love with Tristan, which to be honest I don't even really know why. The love kind of came out of nowhere, but I suppose sometimes it does. But thus far, Tristan's only ever treated her like a friend. Like, he's finally started treating her like a friend, so that's great. But he's never ever reciprocated. I can't say that word. Reciprocated. I'll never be able to be a public speaker or read audiobooks or anything like that. I stumble, I stutter, and I can't speak words. So that's the end of Zoe's chapter. And that's the end of Zoe. The next chapter begins with Tristan standing on a rooftop, and Luke, his brother, is there with him. And I was like, what happened? You were just at the hospital visiting Zoe. Now you're on the roof? Is this the same night? What's happening? This is where the time jumps kind of got on my nerves a wee bit, because it happened so quickly, or it happened all the time. Chapters would start with new settings, and you were like, what day is it? Where are we? How long has it been? How long have I been asleep for? So Tristan Tristan's on a roof and he just blurts out to Luke, "She's dead, Luke. Zoe's dead." And I was like, are you joking? Are you winding me up? She's dead? And then it all comes out that Zoe, poor Zoe, she was born with like a heart defect, and it's all to do with the, now I'm not a medical person and I can't remember what the book said, but it's all to do with, I think it was muscle around the heart or fat around the heart, something, there's like a layer of something around the heart that's too thick, and she was born with it and they didn't know that she had it until one day at a sports thing she collapsed. I don't know if she had a fit or something happened, and that's when they diagnosed her with it. That's why she's going to the hospital when she meets Tristan, and she's always at the hospital. She claims to be going to see her granny, but it's not her granny. She's actually there for herself, and she's going to be getting a pacemaker fitted. They decide to bring her pacemaker fitting forward to like the very next day, but she like passes away at some point. She goes in like cardiac arrest again, or her heart stops at some point again through the night or in the morning. So we lose Zoe. I am a firm believer, sometimes when the situation calls for it, killing off your main character or even like a main kind of side character, it's never a bad idea, really. I've always kind of thought like it is quite refreshing sometimes to see. I know as a writer myself, sometimes I do find it hard to kill off characters that are dear to my heart. Even if they're side characters, I don't want to kill them. They're all my children. How could you ask a mother to kill her children? Answer me that. However, sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and say, look, they gotta go. They just gotta go. I want to crush the heart of the reader. I remember reading The Fault in Our Stars years ago and knowing myself, somebody at some point in this book is gonna die. I remember reading The Book Thief. The Book Thief is a great example of main character deaths, and it breaks your heart every time. Every time. However, I feel like this was the one time that a main character death might have been a bad idea. Because now our boy Tristan wants to die already. Again. And he already wanted to die. He comes back from it. He decides now that Zoe's death has encouraged him to live life to the fullest. That's what Zoe was trying to do with you anyway, so why not do it with her when she was alive? Why not do it with her? Why did she have to die to encourage him to live? Oh, that's good though, isn't it? She had to die so that he could live. Well done, Amelia Mandeville. I did just feel though that while it was actually quite sad that Zoe passed away, it did kind of explain her character a bit more. This is why she was so upbeat, happy, colourful. She was every colour of you. It definitely, it did encourage Tristan, I suppose, in the end. I do kind of feel like it was a bit of a sad death actually. It was one of those situations where I feel like it wouldn't have made Tristan any better if he was a real person. He probably would have jumped off that roof. But he decided to live, and he decided to live for Zoe, which was actually quite nice. I just wish she didn't have to die. She had to die so he could live. That's the best quote ever. If I write a book review for this, I'm putting that in it. Christ, that's a good one. I think that's everything I wanted to touch upon with this book. This is 40 minutes long. Oh dear. I have 2 videos to edit tonight now. It's a good thing I'm not going anywhere. But yeah, so if you stayed this long to watch the ending, well done to you. If you've read it, I'd love to know what you think. If you haven't and you just came for the spoilers, hi! Check out my other videos if you feel like it. I do book reviews. I do nothing else but book reviews. I'm a one-trick pony. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in my next video. Check out my new Instagram. It's all about books. Shameless plug. And read every colour review, because despite the mistakes, it was actually not too bad a book. Bye guys.